Okay, this is Mike Merlin Means of Merlin Public Media, and tonight we are doing another installation of Talking Shit with Merlin. And tonight I have a dear old, and I don't refer to his age, but a dear old friend, Mr. Michael Candela, is joining us. Hi, how's it going, Michael?
I'm doing well. And you, Mike?
Oh, well, as good as can be expected, I guess.
Well, that's the joys of getting old.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
So,
it's sometimes it's better than the alternative, but I'm not always sure.
um, yeah, I'm actually with everything going into my life thinking along those lines right now. We're talking with a pulmonary surgeon and yada, yada, yada. And I might get better and I might not, but he's got the first shot at shooting it all down. He has to make sure that I'm a viable candidate.
Okay.
That's what's going on here, basically, of trying to take care of these lungs. What's going on in your world, man?
Well, a lot actually. First of all, after dealing with the tragedy of losing Nick,
Yes.
I two things happened that were quite interesting to me anyway. Um, I tried, Mike, every hotel or anybody who actually had a place that I could do memorial in. And since it was at the beginning of COVID, no one would pay any attention to me. They all said the same thing. Even if I limited the amount of people, they would not rent to me under any circumstance for any amount of money. Well, um,
Wow.
my last ditch effort was I am a member of the Masons, as you know,
Yep.
and I approached Scottish Rite. We have one of the oldest buildings in all of Tucson that's here. It's quite amazing, and it has two theaters in it. You would love it.
I guess.
And at first, they didn't know what to do. And because as a rental, they had been told by the Grand Lodge that they really should not accept any more rentals. But since I was a Mason and Nick was D Malay, which are kind of like young men Masons,
Okay.
it became a Masonic problem. And within a matter of 24 hours, they gave me their building downtown under certain circumstances,
Of course.
which was you had to limit it to 50 people. And since there was over 150 that wanted to come, we would have to go through it three different times. They helped us set up. They had representatives there all day long to help us deal with certain things, technically as well as emotionally. And many of them spoke about Nick, which touched me so dearly that about a year ago, one of the things that Scottish Rite does is there's 32 playlets, we'll call them, basically morality plays,
Okay.
each one leading up to, they call the grand finale, the 32nd degree, which goes back through all the other degrees and talks about them and what you should have learned, which run from really BC all the way up to modern day. And that's one of the few playlets that's actually done in modern day dress. And they asked me, since I was a director, what I consider directing. And in payment for what they had done, I said yes.
Okay.
So, number one, I have become one of the ritual directors of Scottish Rite. So it does afford me to have an amazing theater. It's not technically great, but we are bringing it more and more into reality. Yes, it is totally capable of doing shows and all the rest. And that's one of the things that we've been in negotiations about. And in the process it was asked to become an officer in Scottish Rite. And it's called the almoner. So if you're a Mason who is down in your luck or a widow, or an orphan, because orphan of someone who was in the Masons, you write to the almoner, and the almoner contacts you and finds out how serious this is. This is somebody who really needs the money, a one-time gift, or are they just, they have a limo in the back, but they just want extra money. And I do not report to anyone except for one person. No one knows what's in that bank account. If I need more money, I go to that one person. At the end of the year, I tell only that one person. I don't give them names or anything. And I say, yes, I have spent this amount of money, as you know, since you actually see the actual receipts. And yeah, so I've helped 2 or 3 people, and that's it. Yeah, so it's nice. I have literally a bank account at my disposal to help work people who are connected with the Masonic organizations. A lot of widows is the biggest thing we get. Widows,
I'm sure.
So that kind of warms my heart, shall we say? And they have been very proactive in helping relieve some of the other issues in our life, which is, of course, Hannah is now actually going to graduate this year. So college is very expensive.
It is.
Sometimes she used to live on campus or off campus housing, and, it all piles up. So I have to really thank them, and I've really started to dedicate part of what I do not only to them, but to my home chapter. And I've worked my way up. And this is this crazy part. I've worked my way up. I'm now the senior deacon in my lodge. And I am probably going to become, do a year as master again. And part of the test that you do is you need to be able to confer 3 degrees and learn a lecture that is, are you ready for this? Drum roll, about 15 to 18 pages long.
Oh, wow, man.
Well, when COVID hit and Nick passed, the one that I had 2 very bad reactions. One being for my teeth, which no one can quite explain. I just get cavities if I look at sugar. And the other was that my memory had been gone. I actually started to think I was afraid I was getting dementia. And through help with some friends that I have here and different vitamins they suggested and things like that, I am now starting to be capable of memorizing at 74 years old, that kind of thing. So that's very, very exciting. In another way, for those, I know you're not big on musicals, but
no, but
one of the musicals that most younger people especially love is Hamilton.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and one of the great lines in it, when he's facing something, he says, "I wrote my way out." And that's actually the song that is sung. And Hannah came to me about a year after Nick had passed, explained that she was getting terrible, terrible night terrors and just was having a lot of problems focusing. And we realized as we chatted that there was a special bond, unfortunately, that we now had. Because although my wife, Marcia, had lost a son, I lost 2 sons because Anthony, my older son, was not of her womb, shall we say. But my daughter, lost 2 brothers. Taking that in common, she asked me, "What should I do, Dad?" And I said, "Well, write your way out." She took that And at first, I thought it was just a thing that she was doing because she was starting to feel better and get better grades. And, 50 pages in, she said, Dad, I think I'm writing a book.
Oh,
And she said, do you have any interest in participating? And I thought about it and I said, yeah, we have shared something special, but what would be the point of us co-writing something together? It made no sense to me. But what did make sense is that if she was serious, that she wanted to write a book, that I would actually contribute at least 100 pages, never reading a word that she wrote. And at the end of whatever she was going to write, which would be around 300 pages, we would then do two things. One, when we started the process, we were going to write 10 questions to be answered at the end of the book. And B, once we had finished what we wanted to say, answered the 10 questions, we could then read each other's works and comment on them as a conclusion, as well as take quotes from people around us who had also lost people that was dear to them. And I'm proud to say she's close to 300 pages. I'm over my 100 already. And I'll explain to you what she's been doing. But she's back home, and we are sitting down almost every day a little bit since she's been home, just barely a week. And we set times, and we have editor. She has an editor. I have an editor. They talk to each other to make sure that what she's doing, what I'm doing, at least stays in the same symphony, if you know what I mean.
okay.
And occasionally they'll guide and say, well, you're doing this, try doing this because it will fit better over here, not giving any specifics, right? Just generalities. And the process is working amazing. And we are hoping, against hope, that by the end of September, we will be done with part B. And all we have left is to write those last pieces after reading each other's works. But we will start submitting actually at the end of September. We already have websites and things like that, and hashtags and all the rest. And she's listed a bunch of her friends who deal in the world better than I do, that's for sure, regarding, social media and stuff like that. And I am quite amazed how it really is coming together, and it's kept both her and I a lot calmer. We feel a lot more positive. And I think we both realized something kind of important. One of my other friends, when Nick passed, came to me and said, this is the best way I can explain it. You were a square or a rectangle, but there was 4 sides. But you're now a triangle. And a triangle, once you lose one of its parts, can never be remade. There's no way to connect it anymore. It's impossible. So each one of you is as important to the other one, and you each must learn to be each other's support systems. And although in many ways, Marcia doesn't always understand it, Hannah and I have now really understood it and really have an amazingly close mental, spiritual relationship. So of all the things that I'm proud of, that I've kind of accomplished in the last 5 years, that's really one of them. And it's more important to me than, for example, 4 years ago, I was not home for months and months. I was in Tennessee. I was one of the producers and also an actor in a film that is about to be released. A really cool allegory. And I'm very proud of it. But at the same time, my heart is really in the fact that even if nothing else happens with the book, we did it. We wrote our way out. And it's called uh, Conversations with My Therapist. And although it sounds like conversations that you're going to have that she had with her therapist or I had with mine, I've seen a therapist twice in my whole life. She has seen therapists, but it's nothing at all like what is really happening. These are all conversations that never happen. It really deals with the pain that we go through when we lose something that is important to us and how we as people don't talk about it. Even with a therapist, we don't. We hide behind it, or we don't talk about it because we'll be judged. And that's really what the book is about, so that people can realize it's okay. It's okay to say, like with my first son, who was indeed only 20 years younger than me. The last 10 years of his life, I just waited for the news. Tell that to a psychiatrist, they'll lock your ass up.
Yeah, they will.
Okay, but it's okay. And I have a whole chapter just on why it was okay for me to say that to myself, that I had reached a point where no matter what I did, the destruction was just too inbred at that point, that all I would do is hurt the people around me. That hurt was so bad that in some respects, it was something that Nick could never really come to terms with. So the poor kid passed away without ever really being able to come to terms with the fact that his brother beat him. You know, and that there was part of me that when his brother passed went, well, at least I don't have to worry about that anymore. And
yeah,
we all have these feelings and we don't talk about them.
No.
So that part is the book. Hannah, God bless her, the reason she wasn't here for 3 months is she was asked to apply for an internship at Sloan Kettering in New York, which is probably one of the most famous cancer hospitals. They deal with neurosurgery and things like that. They have a whole philosophy on how a patient is treated. When you go there to Sloan Kettering, if they accept your case, you are now totally in the hands of Sloan Kettering doctors. They are your PC all the way through your surgeon, your neurosurgeon, you're this doctor, you're that doctor, literally even your nutrition and grief doctor, if God forbid it doesn't work, so that they can't work with the family. And so they treat the whole person instead of the specific part that is not working, which is an amazing philosophy.
Yes, it is. It's a great concept.
And she, as part of the intern, was a go-between between all those doctors and the family. And she did that for 3 months. And in the process has now gotten herself 2 very high, powerful women who, one of them who's the head of neurosurgery in Sloan Kettering, the other one is the head of grief, as part of her mentors, as well as she's been asked and already done 1 TED Talk and is about to do a few more. And eventually we will be doing them together, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do the book, because part of her goal in life is to discuss addiction. And as somebody who has been addicted off and on through my whole life, The date changes, shall we say? The person you're dancing with may change, but the act is still the same. Whether it's smoking cigarettes at 13, or smoking pot at 17 or 18, all the way up to the pills the doctor prescribes for me now, which may or may not be good. And deal with what is addiction. Is there an addictive gene? And things like that, and open discussions that have never been really talked about on that level. And that's also part of why we want to get the book out there, because that's some of the things that, from my point of view as a man who's gone through it all and had a family history of it, and from her point of view, who watched basically two brothers go through it, although Nick died from complications from many, many, many things, unfortunately, including terrible, terrible COVID. So we feel that has become very, very, very important in both our lives and the lives of those around us, because these issues don't change. And the grief doesn't stop. I mean, literally 48 hours ago, I deal with the young Masons, as I said, the DeMolay, and the other co-partner, shall we say, in running it, calls me up and says, my son can't come and I can't come. We have COVID. It's like we all think COVID's gone. It's not. We actually almost lost another close friend of Marcia's 2 weeks ago. She finally, thank God, got out of the ICU after being in there 3 weeks. So grief will never stop. We are as we all know, politically, in a very strange place in America. And we're not sure it's going to get a lot better. So people with solutions are important things now. I think it's time for people who've kind of hidden the shadows to start coming up with some solutions that will help others go through some of the craziness that may be reaped upon us in the next 10 years if we're not careful. So I live a pretty boring life, except for that I just came back from England.
Well, geez.
2 weeks in England. It was great, Mikey. I made it. 2 brand new knees, asthmatic, like you, former smoker. We both know about our medical problems. I managed to climb to the top of Dover Castle. 267 steps, I believe it is, all made out of stone. So they're uneven. The spaces between them, of course, are slightly uneven. The only saving grace, because the climb is like climbing the Statue of Liberty, is that there are floors, like 2 floors. So there are 2 places where you can stop and catch your breath, because again, this is Dover. It is one of the highest castles in England, and the air, I mean, it's humid anyway in England, but the air, you could almost cut it with a knife. It's so thick. And, but I'm proud that I built up my stamina enough to actually do something like that, and to allow myself to add that back into my daily life, to be at least healthy enough for that, Especially, I know you have a lot of medical problems, and so do I. As far as theater goes, I might. I've got 2 theaters there. I might move along and do some shows there. I've definitely been chatting with them, but right now there would be a distraction I'm not sure I need. I want to get the book out. I want to keep plugging away. at the stuff that I'm doing for the Masons because it gives me a good feeling to help others. You know,
Certainly.
so many people are out there worrying about, how they're going to make ends meet. I don't know. I have to ask you this question. I ask everybody this. Are you a shut-in?
Am I a shut-in?
Yeah, a shut-in.
No. I leave
No.
the house.
Okay. Now, do you know anyone who is?
No.
No, I do. I have friends who've not for medical reasons. In other words, yeah, I have one friend for medical reasons he can't leave the house because he's so ill. But no, I have two friends who have not, since they heard about the pandemic, have not left the house
Wow.
to go to a grocery store or anything. I have another few friends that limit it to certain places. You know, they wouldn't come to Nick's Memorial. One of them is one of my closest friends from high school. Would not come to Nick's Memorial. Would not come all the way here. Wouldn't come to Sedona when I offered him free time to come. So that they could be in a car, get out of the car, and they would be in their own place. And how much they would go out. I mean, Sedona, you don't have to go inside much. Most of Sedona you can enjoy outside. That's what's so beautiful about Sedona. And no. So I understand completely why. I can't live that way, but because in my mind, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, be precautious, do everything you're supposed to do.
Right.
But to live in a ivory tower the rest of my life, just because there's things out there that could kill me, that's not who I am. And
things that could kill you out there every time you cross the street or get in your car. So
that's right. That is very, very true. How many friends have lost, in car accidents?
Mm-hmm.
We were Marcia and I were talking yesterday, and some advantages that I have had is that I grew up around stars. Just because I went to Hollywood High and Palm Springs High. And we started talking about Jack LaLanne, and his daughter passed in a car accident. And then I pointed out that one of the first people I remember losing in high school was Red Skelton's daughter, who also died in a car accident. People can be right. There's dangers all around, and you have to make the boundaries which you feel are best so that at least you live a full and rich life as best as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't go out a lot, especially since, I shut down my studio and all that fun stuff. And I go to the store. I live stream a church service Sunday mornings. I go to the hardware store, grocery store. I mean, I'm not out doing much of anything, but I'm kind of a special case in the lung department, so I'm cautious, and I still wear my mask everywhere.
Good. You have a lung problem.
Yeah, a bit. We're working on it.
So it's safer to wear them.
Yep.
The idiots that make fun, in my opinion, are only asking for trouble.
Yeah.
You don't want to get a shot, fine. That's your business. And God forbid you get it and you don't recover.
Yeah.
I'm actually dealing with a situation like that kind of in my extended family, where one of my extended family made a decision not to get shot. And he was asking for trouble. He's grossly overweight and is now having serious medical problems. Although he recovered from the COVID, it kind of fucked with his lungs, is the best way to put it. And his heart. So now they're saying that he may have shortened his life. And my answer to him is, as soon as there was one available, I got one before I was even supposed to get one. I got snuck in because of Nick's passing before my age group.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had 2 boosters since then, and I've caught it twice. But all 3 times, 3 times. And all 3 times, they were minor. The first time, nobody diagnosed it, which is why Nick passed. Mm. I kept saying, I think I have this friggin' thing called COVID, and so did Nick, because we couldn't breathe. We were on inhalers and nebulizers and things, and there was nobody to treat us unless we had high fevers. The second and third times, it was just not even a cold. It was like, I'm feeling funny. Let's do the test. Okay. Yep. Good. All right. I'll wait it out a couple of days. They drank soup and yeah, fine. No side effects and nothing. And I believe that the shots did that they helped stave off a situation that could have been much, much worse.
Oh, yes. As soon as I could, I got him.
Yeah. In a weird way, and this is, I deal with this in the book too. It was going to be either me or Nick that died. Nick had become my conduit from January because I was already feeling very ill, but I never got a fever, so no hospital would take me and deal with me. And probably if they did at that time, it would have made it worse anyway. But he kept moving friends that were basically thrown out of the dorms and things like that. So he was my conduit. He kept helping friends, and he kept getting worse and worse and worse. And again, never had a fever. Had he not passed, and had they not immediately started dealing with it with me and with Marcia and with Hannah, there's probably a very strong chance I would have passed because I was that ill. And now, all of a sudden, they were dealing with it. They knew I had COVID, and they gave me whatever medications they could, and, we prescribed to whatever was available at that particular time. I was actually quite lucky in that friend of mine in New York, they were doing testing on some of the stuff they're now using, and he got me a dose too. Yeah, long before it was actually, it was literally apparently snuck out of the damn lab or something crazy like that. But I didn't care because I figured if it killed me, it killed me. But I wasn't going to continue like this anymore. And it did help clear it up along with a lot of herbs and things like that people had recommended.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
What the herbs are? Because I'm taking a few herbs for my lungs.
You are.
I am.
First of all, elderberry.
Okay.
You can buy it as a tar, literally. Okay. And it's great for your lungs when you get that really, really tight feeling. You take it, and it tastes terrible because it's like tasting tar.
Okay.
But it is definitely available. There's also a few different breathing combinations that you can pick up. They were actually sent to me through, I believe it's pronounced Adavecchia. You know, how do I explain it? Middle Eastern, the ones who chant.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
If you go online and look them up, you will see that they have this comment things called specifically for healing your lungs and things like that. And usually they have high amounts of turmeric in it.
Yep.
But if you want, I will kind of go through some of the products that I have, and I will email you them, as well as if you want some of the products for memory, which as we all get older, we do lose our memory. And
oh, yes.
Besides the stuff that everyone knows, like Prevagen, which is great, I definitely will take it, or things that are similar to it. There are also other herbs that you can take along with it that will strengthen it, and they're a shootload cheaper. So actually, that, interestingly enough, as we talk, I can actually look up on Amazon, good old Amazon, and it'll tell me what the hell I bought. And okay, I'm gonna, please forgive my lousy pronunciation.
Okay.
But we have here CHOLINE, and inositol is one of them.
Okay.
And when you combine it with something that is called brain food, which is ACETYL slash CHOLINE. So ACETYL slash CHOLINE, and you combine it with also choline and inositol. You need to take both of them together, at which point, if you take it every day, as you know, it says on the bottle, you can switch over to Nariva, which is about a third of the price these days than Prevagen. And if you take all three together, you will find that it takes a month or two. But at first, everybody poo-pooed it. Hannah poo-pooed it. Marcia poo-pooed it. Then Hannah said, well, Dad, I don't know what's going on. I'm too young to go through this shit. Let me try. And she did. And that made Hannah and Marcia try. And now Marcia's on it. And Marcia's going, oh, shit, it really does work, doesn't it, Michael? It's like, yeah. I mean, I looked at her. There were days I'd look at her and not even remember my own wife's name. That's how bad my memory was actually getting. You know?
See, in mine,
so those will help with the memory issues.
Mine waxes and wanes based on my oxygen level. When my oxygen dips, I don't remember anything.
Okay.
Well, when I get foggy like that, I go and I grab my cannula and go.
You'll find that a product called Brain Food, which I also take, combined with those two things I just told you, will bring your oxygen levels up. Because I was, again, having problems with that, being an asthmatic.
Yeah.
After COVID, I needed to find something, and thank God I did indeed find it.
Yes.
It really does work, as well as stuff for the healing of the lungs itself. I'll go back I have to go back to my medicine cabinet. So there are some of the other things that have helped to heal my lungs. Remember, I just climbed that high.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I know.
did I have to use my inhaler? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I had to use my inhaler, but I made it, and I wasn't dying. Like
Yeah.
I made it. I Marcia looked at me. She goes, "Are you all right?" And it's like, yeah, I'm a little winded. She goes, I'm a little winded too. It's beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. That's the other thing I've changed my philosophy on. I looked in the mirror one day and said, you're not supposed to outlive your kids. I'm almost 75. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? And that's why we went to England. We're going to be going to Israel next.
Oh, wow.
And Italy. We haven't retired. I don't think I'll ever really retire.
Probably not, Michael.
No, I mean, we create work. That's the kind of people you and I are. And we do that because we love what we do. And we feel we have something to say. But at the same time, if we don't start fulfilling some of the wishes and dreams, that's all they become. And we get to a point where we can't anymore. I pointed out to Marcia, I says, you don't want me in a friggin' wheelchair trying to go through the shuk in Israel. Trust me. She goes, oh, no, Michael. She's been to Israel. She's, no, God, no. And it's like, no, I got to be able to be healthy enough to do these things. And 10 years from now, I might not be.
True.
So
but let's hope not,
Yep. Let's hope that I'm still healthy enough to keep traveling and stuff like that. But the world is a beautiful place. And even with the fact that there's disease, it's always a crapshoot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what have you been doing? I know that you sold a bunch of your equipment. That's why I said, by the way, I might be interested in buying some of it if you tell me what you got, because I might donate it to to the building.
I'll shoot you out a list. I shut down my studio. I was sitting in there one afternoon, early COVID, and my next 4 or 5 months worth of work all canceled, 45 minutes, and I was done.
Oh,
and
boy.
there was no more. And I'm trying to, keep that all together and deal with my, lessening lung function. And I finally reached a point where I said, I can't. I could work, in an in-house production, but I can't take a rig out, set it up, do a band, tear it down, pack it up, and go home. I don't have the strength and energy. So I gave that all up and I started doing this. And I want to just, I'm sharing music with people and I'm interviewing bands and small businesses and some local events people. And I've got an interview coming up with a guy in England, and this is going to be fun if I pull this off. But, I'm giving back. I'm promoting bands. I'm having fun. I'm promoting events. I'm playing music. This is what I'm doing now. I've got, my gardens and I've got the chickens and, Juanita's here and, my grandson is here now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And, I'm, doing what I can when I can, waiting to talk to my surgeon. And, I was down about this whole thing for about the first couple months. And then I'm just like, at that time, who gets a 3-year warning? And this is progressive. It does and you're going to be, uh, you got 3 years to go, and then the stats became 4 years and 5 years. Now they're saying most people will last 5 years after the initial diagnosis.
Oh, really?
And when I started, it was 3. I mean, they're
Wow.
making improvements in this little orphan disease, but it's you do what you can do. You have fun. You support people. I consult with the community theater still. That's what we didn't do. Hey, man, how did we meet?
How did we meet? We met. Okay? I was asked, or actually, I applied for the job of teaching at Mojave Community College, and the lady who ran the program said, because I said, well, one of my big, I can put the show on, but I always have trouble with the technical end. Is there anyone you could recommend? And she recommended, I think, 2 people, and you were one of them. You and I hit it off because you did the tech. Didn't you do the tech?
Oh, yeah.
Story theater.
Yep.
You kept calling it storybook theater, too.
Uh-huh. What was the first show? How to Eat Like a Child? Was that our first?
No. I think we did story theater and then did the camp.
Okay.
Like a
Yeah.
And then we went over to the high school.
Yep.
That's the crazy, I still have, by the way, the thing that we flew, the coach.
Oh, geez, do you really?
Oh, I sure do.
Oh,
and
man.
Someday, since I own a lot of the costumes we used in that, I will once again direct the show just so that I could use the coach and make it fly at the end, since I also own the dress that Cinderella has to wear.
That was a lot of work and a lot of fun.
Yes. We constantly beat our heads against the wall. How to do this? How can we make that damn coach fly on this particular line?
That was the toughest of all of them.
Yes, it was.
And followed closely by the we had to make that frame to hang the sky drop.
Right.
That was a good time.
Yes. Interestingly enough, I still interact with some of the people there besides you. I'm sure you heard, unfortunately, Marcia Molly's mom did pass away recently from lung cancer. But we stayed close with her, and she will be moving out of Bullhead eventually into Phoenix. Her and her stepdad are going to move into Phoenix, so that we'll see them a lot more.
Oh, sure.
But here's the shocker of all shockers.
Go for it.
You obviously that we Tim and I wrote that one series that almost happened.
Yep.
Tim and I have stayed close friends, and we had to do a rewrite on the series because we had additional interest years later, and as we speak, we are writing another screenplay / series. We're not
Wow.
quite sure. My instinct says that it we're going to have to write it as a screenplay, but it's really not a screenplay. It's a limited series.
Okay.
You know how they're doing these limited series, where, 8 episodes or 10 episodes, and you're done with the story.
Right.
And it's based on fact, and it's based on something that actually happened in my life years and years and years and years ago. And Tim got to meet one of my cousins who lives in Vegas, which is where Tim lives now. And my cousin kept talking to Tim, and Tim got a bug up his butt. It took him a year and a half for me to finally say, yes, okay, F you, I will indeed write it. I said,
It's
you
internet
do realize,
radio. We are not censored.
yep. It's like, I don't know if I really emotionally want to go back to this, but you're right, Tim. But please understand, when I give you the actual facts and show you the facts in black and white, you'll realize that if we write it, the odds of us participating more than writers is minimal. They'll take it and they're going to go run with it and do it their own way.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. I finally got to the point where I said to myself, Tim, you're right. The world needs to know. So are you ready for a story and a half?
Go for it.
Okay. In the late, I believe it's 80s. I mean, I actually have dates and everything. Okay. I was casting a film with a group of people that were colorful, to say the least. One of the main people in it, believe it or not, was involved with gangsters, actually held the head of Colombo when Colombo was shot at the rally for the Italian Defamation League. Even though he was Jewish, he was larger than life, is the only way to explain it. And he ran this band of crazy people and hired me to cast this film. And while we were involved with it, the film fell apart. Nothing unusual.
No, not really.
And while we were bemoaning the fact that the film fell apart, because believe it or not, the main person who was putting up the money died. Through some weird connections, we were approached to promote and produce a Russian circus. Now, if you go online, anyone who hears this want to have a little fun, type in these words: BIM, B-I-M, bomb, B-O-M, circus. The circus Bim Bom is one of the oldest circuses in all of Russia. And they wanted to do and get out. The circuses were not really big in Russia anymore. So they wanted to leave, plus they wanted to come to America. We came up with the idea of the Peace and Freedom Tour, because it was during the Reagan era and there was a lot of tension. And the screenplay deals with this group of crazy people, along with a group of crazy Russian people who actually at one point bring the circus to America, bears and all, get it on a tour, and that after 5 different stops, all of a sudden the money dries up.
Oh.
Why? Because we thought the money was coming out of Russia. It was coming out of Kuwait.
Oh.
and Saddam Hussein attacked Kuwait and froze the man who was putting up the money, and we stranded 100 and some odd people,
Oh, jeez. And bears.
and horses, and it was all over the papers. And because of the gentleman's past and a few of the other people and a lot of names that ended in vowels, we were deemed as mafia.
Okay.
As if we stole all this money. And in reality, we had been half the time working for free because we knew that this was a great thing that we were doing. And the ins and outs of the story had so many bloody twists, and the fact that we got the damn circus here, and some of those performers did get asylum and are still working here in America.
Oh, wow.
We kind of did do what we wanted to do, which was the people wanted to get out of Russia and couldn't get out of Russia.
Yeah.
So that's the Circus Bim Bom. That is the story that we are writing right now. And I was there. I was in the middle of it. I am credited, I think, as the tour manager or something like that. And I did manage to really set up venues and everything. And, you know, we got to see it live. If you go on now, you can actually see one of the commercials that we had done for it. They post on the internet, as well as they post all the stories of, you know, how we eventually, of course, with some help from Steve Lieber and things like that, got the animals back to Russia. Most of the performers that wanted to stay, we figured out how to make them stay. And of course, the ones that wanted to go back, we got home. So, and we were never really the villains of the piece. Even the people putting up the money weren't really villains of the piece. They were, everyone was doing it for the, you know, get them out of Russia.
Wow. Now that I want to see.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I want to see.
He's right. He drove me crazy all these years. Come on, let's write it. Come on, let's write it. So, I mean, I do spend a good portion of my day either working on the book or when Tim gets home, working with Tim on the screenplays. And one of my other things that I wrote with Tim, so Radio Needles, has gotten some new life.
Oh, really?
That people are looking at. And the guys don't know, but Tim and I wrote another thing about this entertainment family that all live in the same building. And that's getting some new life with Disney. So it's out there. And who knows? Someday you may say, oh, Jesus Christ. He was a theater person, but he became a writer. Which is pretty funny since I failed high school English because I cannot spell. The teachers would always say, you have these great ideas, but dude, you know, you still can't spell the difference between you are, your, and your.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, now, of course, I can, but back then I couldn't, and that's okay, you know. But it has been fun. As they say, it keeps us out of trouble. One of these days, he will be well enough, I hope, to come and visit. We used to live across the street from the high school that the kids graduated from, but we were very lucky in that through a bunch of twists of fate, we ended up purchasing a house that is on a dirt road on an acre, where right across the street are horses. It is horse property, although we would never own horses because we have to put them in the front, I guess, of the house because the house is decorated to the nines, including 26 bloody rose bushes.
Oh, geez.
Yep. I mean, the backyard looks like it's out of one of those, home beautifuls. And it is a gorgeous, amazing house, which, my wife started talking with the owner, and Hannah started talking with the kids next door, who ended up being the owner's grandkids. And the owner made some changes, even lowered the price of the house, and says, "Yep, I want you guys living next door because that way I know my grandchildren will be safe."
Oh, no, that's so
okay. And it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous house. You'll love it. It gives Hannah her own wing. It's like she doesn't have a mother-in-law, so it's not that separated. But we are separated by a hallway and a bunch of doors. So my office, which can be shut on both sides, is close to her bedroom. There's a hallway in between us. So if we ever wanted to, we could, seal it up. But at this point, we actually don't, because if the deal is simple. If I close the outer door to the rest of the house, that means her mom and I are sleeping, and she can come in and use the office. And if she's going to have a guest over and doesn't want me to use the office, I will not be. I'll just, I got another office. I have extra bedrooms and everything I can go work in. But I like this office because it oversees the horses. So I can actually look out my window, see all these fruit trees that I've had planted, and horses.
Oh, what did you plant, man? Because now you're talking my other language.
Oh, you remember in Bullhead, the orange tree and the lemon tree? I so miss them. So I have oranges, lemons, limes.
Okay.
And grapefruits.
I'll pass on that one, but okay.
Yeah, me too. But Marshall likes grapefruits. And
okay.
We have, when Nick passed, a couple of people sent us actual trees, and they are plum trees and dates and things like that. And they're all growing nicely in the back of the house. So in the back, we'll have, those kind of dates and, plums and figs in the back, and in the front will be all citrus.
Oh, that sounds just like heaven.
Oh, it is. It's great. Someday you'll come down, you'll see it, and you will fall in love with it. And the people, it's a short block. It's like literally only 2 blocks long. And I've talked to some of the neighbors, and we all have the same feeling. It's in unincorporated land, and we would always fight to stay unincorporated so that the street isn't even paved, and we don't want it to be paved. We pay for somebody during the bad rains to fill in the potholes.
Sure.
Otherwise, forget about it. We just like it because nobody comes here unless they have reasons for coming.
Right.
There's no cars speeding down the road or anything, but we're 4 minutes away from one of the busiest corners in all of Tucson, because we're between Tucson and Marana, which is the quickest growing community in all of Arizona, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Marana is like exploding. It's so nuts out there, which is great, So all in all, it's a very interesting community. As you know, Tucson is kind of famous for being kind of this crazy melting pot. Very, very artistic, lots of, book shows and theater and, whatever, art shows, and there's always something going on. And
everything that Bullhead isn't. And
in Bullhead, there was never a sense of real community, even with Mojave Valley, because you didn't share a lot of common interests.
Mhm.
Here, most people are only here that either they own the house for years and years, or they have some connection with the university. It's a
Okay.
university town. So you want to make a friend, you wear something that says U of A, and 10 people will stop you to talk about basketball or football or
Uh-huh.
baseball, or, oh, they're dark. Again, it's very well known for their legal, a lot of famous people have gone through their legal departments and become chief justices and crap like that. And so it's not only a sports town. It's they almost pride the fact that they're considered also one of the best places to do nursing and things like that. And, so it's not. It's a nice combination. Is the best way to explain it. And I keep thinking to myself, let's see. I tried for 5 years in Bullhead to get a bullhead statue, just a bull's head. I even found famous artists that were willing to give me, for very little money.
Mhm.
Instead, they took all the money that had been put away to pay for new trucks and things and stuff like that. And here, every time I turn around, there's new statues and new decorations and stuff like that.
Mm.
They make it a very picturesque town to live in. And that is very cool,
Yeah. If you can kind of forget you're inside a city when you're inside the city, then the city's doing okay.
Oh, yeah. And you definitely can, especially where we are. People will come to the house and they'll just sit in the backyard. And, you listen to the crickets, or occasionally you actually do hear coyotes and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's so quiet. It's so peaceful. You don't even hear cars coming by because most people are home here by 7, 8 o'clock at night. And if they do, you have to drive slow because you'll screw up your line in your car.
Yeah.
It is a big dirt road. But again, it's one block of a dirt road. It's not like it's,
But hey, it's a dirt road, man. I haven't lived on a dirt road in 40 years or so.
There you go.
I do miss chatting with you, Michael.
Well, it's very nice chatting with you. I always, we went through a lot of crazy insanity together, you and I. We always created cool things. I'll still run into people who will talk about and say, oh, didn't you do Cinderella, or didn't you do this thing or that thing, or didn't you do the big community shows? Again, being involved here in local government and things like that, and the Masons and all, some of them literally go, were you ever living in Bullhead? Because some of them even judged the shows that we did, for the community, where we created the radio shows and all.
Mm-hmm.
With Tim and I created those radio shows with your help and shit. At least we did some cool stuff. We didn't sit back. We didn't wait for the world to bring it to us. Yeah, was it hard? Of course it was hard, but it was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I look back at it. I say it was definitely fun, and it's always great yakking with you. And I tell people, yeah, Bullhead is a very strange place to live, but I made 4 or 5 good friends, and we'll be friends the rest of our lives.
Oh, yes.
And had I never been to Bullhead, never taken that, there'd be part of me that was missing, especially with the fact that I ended up with a writing partner.
Yeah.
done so many things together, he and I, now through the years. And we do, every year we get actually better at it together. We yell a lot, still at each other intensely occasionally, but that's just part of being creative.
Yes,
But,
it is.
He's doing well, by the way.
Good.
Yeah, shocking. Cassidy's got 2 or 3 kids now. Little Cassidy.
Oh,
getting
geez.
old, dude.
Oh, man.
2 or 3 kids, so he's a granddaddy, and works for right now the Golden Eagles. He does a lot of their publicity. The ones that jump out of the plane. And do all that. He works for them.
Oh, wow. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It is actually very, very, very cool. You know, they don't understand them. Same crap. That's Tim. But I can understand why they wouldn't understand him. You know, he's a very different person, and he tends to be smarter than the people around him, and that causes some problems.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah. But I'm sure you find it good to see that I've at least tried to stay in contact with most of the people. I actually, every once in a while, talk to Carla and all. I know CJ got married, and I see Jeff every year or so. We go watch baseball games together. So.
Heck, I haven't even seen Jeff in 2 or 3 years.
There you go. And you live in the same town. I probably see him more than you have. Well, we had this thing. We both love baseball, and we both love spring training. So in the old days, he used to literally book the days. He would call me like 6 months in advance and say, "Okay, these are the days I'm taking off from work." And he would come and stay at the house because I was in Phoenix. So now it's kind of tough. We kind of coordinate when we're going to be up in Phoenix. He can't stay with me because it doesn't make any sense for him to drive all the way down to Tucson and then go back there.
Well, as much as I hate this, I am going to have to get off of here and go find my short lease oxygen.
Okay. Well, I need to feed my dog.
There you go.
And get my evening ready. Okay?
All right, man.
Chatting with you. So how does one tune into this?
I will send you a link. It's off of Live 365. That's my streaming server that I rent. And I'll send you all the links. And I'll let you know when you'll be out there.
Cool. And I might want to chat when you get a moment about the process itself. Because it's something that Hannah and I have been talking about potentially doing. And I have a ton of equipment. You know, obviously. So I might want a little guidance if you know what I mean.
Not a problem.
Okay, bro.
All right.
Well, my love to the family.
And to yours.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.